Back for more. Yes, of course. I know all about every Singing in the Rain. Come with me. Oh. Let's dive into the movie Magic. Singing in the Rain, 1952, 5 years before Funny Face came out, and the title characters were played by Gene Kelly, Debbie Reynolds, and Donald O'Connor. So starring Gene Kelly, choreographed by Gene Kelly, and co-directed by, you've guessed it, Gene Kelly. The other co-director was Stanley Donen, who was the director for Funny Face. He's one of my favorites. He's directed pretty much all of my personal favorite films. Now, this particular musical is wonderful because even though it was made in the 50s, it takes place in the late 20s, okay, when Hollywood is transitioning out of silent films and into talkies, which makes for a marvelous plot. The film itself cost $2.5 million to make, and this was in a different time than today, 70 years ago. And one of my personal favorite things about the movie is that you are on a Hollywood set. You get to see what the sets look like back in the 20s when they were making silent films and they're doing mood music. But let's get to the plot. Singing in the Rain. If you ask your average Joe Schmo on the street what the movie Singing in the Rain is about, they'll probably say something along the lines of, it's about a guy who sings in the rain. An astute observation. Personally, I like to find the deeper philosophical meaning that may or may not exist. And I think that Singing in the Rain is about the change that exists in our lives. How we feel about someone may change. Our career may change. Maybe on the bottom one day and the top the next day. This life is so temporary. Everything that happens is temporary. And we always have the choice to grump in the rain when the rain comes or sing in the rain. For tomorrow, that day will be gone. Our film first gives us the information that Don Lockwood, the performer, has really worked his way up to his starring role on the silver screens. Okay, so he started as a young boy hoofing on the streets just to get a buck. And then he took that buck and went and saw a movie because he was a young boy growing up in Hollywood. Then we see him as a young man, all right, a real vaudeville performer. Fit as a fiddle, ready for love, I could jump over. And sometimes he was a little rotten and they would get the hook, which is the giant hook that comes onto the stage and whips you off if you're not so great. And he says that his theme in life was dignity, always dignity. But he's now on the red carpet, all right? He's made it. He's the star of the silver screen and the silent films. Remember, this movie takes place in the late 20s, okay? So we're just in the transition of silent films to talkies. Don has lots of adoring fans, and one night his adoring fans are literally pulling the jacket right off his back for souvenir, purposes, of course. And he is trying to run away from these thousands of adoring fans. He hops into a moving vehicle. Don't try this at home. And there's a girl driving it. Her name is Kathy Selden. Kathy Selden. She doesn't give two rips who he is. She doesn't know who he is. She's never even heard of him. He might be the biggest movie star in Hollywood. She's never heard of him. And he is both kind of hurt, his ego is a little bit hurt that she doesn't know who he is, but he also is very curious because she's the first woman in a long time who hasn't, fawned all over him. They part ways and will probably never see each other again until 5 minutes later when one of them pops out of a cake. I won't say which one of them pops out of a cake. You have to watch the movie to find out. He is totally enamored with her. As soon as she, ta-da! Kathy Selden, a local dancer girl who does indeed really want to get into the movies. She sings a cute 1920s number with 20 other girls. All I do is dream of you the whole night through, ba-dum-bum-bum, with the dawn and still go on. One of my favorite songs in the show. And Dawn comes up to now razzle her a little bit, make fun of her lofty position in life, okay? Enter leading lady, Lena Lamont. And Don Lockwood, obviously now he has to introduce the two of them to each other because Lena is his partner in all of the silent films. She plays a love interest. With the voice of an angel, she approaches.
Donnie, who is this dame anyway?
Oh, Lena, this is Kathy Selden. She's not one of us. She's an actor on a great stage. Well, these comical introductions end with somebody getting a pie in the face. Party's over, everybody goes their separate ways. But Don is really shook up by the things that Kathy said to him, and he goes to his friend Cosmo, who's played by Donald O'Connor, and he's saying, Cosmo, what if I'm not a great actor? I mean, the films are silent. I just make these faces on the screen. I'm not really a great actor. There's no lines. There's no real acting happening. He's very shook, and his dear friend Cosmo says, look, the show has to go on. You have to keep working. You have to do what you do. Maybe it's not the greatest job in the world, but it's what we do. And he states that his father said comedy was really the way to go. Don, the world's so full of things. Don, the world's so full of things. I'm sure we should all be as happy as, but are we? No. Definitely no. Decidedly no. Short people have long faces, and long people have short faces. Big people have little humor, and little people have no humor at all. And in the words of that immortal bard, Samuel J. Snodgrass, as he was about to be led to the guillotine, make 'em laugh, make 'em laugh. Don't you know everyone wants to laugh? My grandpa said, be an actor, my son, but be a comic when they'll be standing in line. Make 'em laugh, make 'em laugh, make 'em laugh, make 'em laugh, make 'em laugh. Don is quite cheered up momentarily, of course, because then the producer of the studio comes out and says, hold everything, hold everything. They were in the middle of making a silent film, a new silent film. Hold everything, the talkies are a hit. That's what the audience wants. That's what everybody wants. We're making this studio a talkie studio also. So now they really go to work. Okay, Lena's voice didn't matter before, but now it matters. Now the audience will actually hear her. And her voice is very interesting. They send her to a vocal coach, a very, very professional lady. Now, Miss Lamont, say this. Pierre, you shouldn't have come.
Pierre, you shouldn't have come.
Pierre.
Pierre.
You get the idea. She doesn't do so hot. They show a screening of the movie with the voices in it, and the audience is cackling. It's hilarious. At one point, the sound even gets disjointed. It disconnects from the film, and you see the villain on stage going, no, 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 and Lena Lamont going, yes, yes, yes. It's hysterical. But they weren't really going for a comedy. They're all pretty embarrassed, and they decide they cannot release the movie this way. So they go to work, creating a new movie. But what to do about Lena? Kathy volunteers, and they use her voice to dub Lena's voice. So she's doing the talking for Lena, she's doing the singing for Lena, everything. Lena starts to get a little bit of a big head. Everybody loves her singing voice, and she intends on keeping it that way. She has her lawyer look at her contract and decides that the studio will not be allowed to give Kathy any credit for being Lena's voice. She'll go on playing Lena's voice forever. Kathy will never have a career of her own. Well, Cosmo and Don certainly aren't going to allow that, and they find a very creative way to give Lena all that was coming to her and show the public who the real voice of Lena Lamont was. Kathy and Don's love can finally bloom, built on mutual trust and understanding and proof through their actions that they care for each other. It's a beautiful, wonderful, and romantic, happy ending. You